Yeah, that would have been fatal.
Well, we don't.
Well, I don't know if it would have been fatal, but
There, too.
you know, it would have definitely been more of a disturbance.
That kind of makes sense now why this lodge wants to frozen solids, how it's important for them to put all their winter food underneath the ice in the winter. Sticks. Because
they will come out, you know, if it's a nice day. In fact, you know, around by the big lodge, it looks like there's some, you know, fresh chewing on that one tree. It's hard to tell, but it looks like it wasn't from, you know, 2 months ago. It's definitely within the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, just coming down here, you can see over the past 2 months that it seems like new chewing.
Yeah, I haven't.
So you know, if it's a real nice day, you know, they can come out and you know.
Well, even bears can do that.
Oh yeah. I've had bear calls in January.
Yeah.
Especially if they get desperate.
Especially with weather like the last few weeks.
Yeah.
So it's fairly fresh here, isn't it?
Yeah, since we were here, the past couple months since we were here, they were working on that dam.
So you would say this whole process with the citizens and the rec department and the construction company had been a success?
Yes. You know, my original comments is, you know, because, you know, Estes is such an important wildlife habitat, especially the elk and mule deer. The whole valley is considered, you know, winter range. You know, my comments were, you know, with each square foot of, you know, vegetation that's removed, you lose that much, you know, winter range. Plus, you know, I'm still a little concerned that we'll have some elk calving down here.
Oh.
It's not only the people impacting the wildlife, it's the wildlife impacting the people. You know, they got to close the Lake Estes Trail pretty much every spring. What do you think, for about a week, 2 weeks?
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, because, you know, elk are chasing people.
Yeah, that happens.
I can see that happening on this trail. It's happened to the trail there by the Knoll property, you know, back behind the police department. They've had to close that trail. And, you know, elk are trying to protect their babies. And so, you know, I was a little concerned about this, and very possibly we'll see that too. But, you know, there's ways that we can, you know, coexist. And I think this was a good compromise that was made. You know, it's not as nice wide trail as, you know, which was proposed, but, you know, it stayed out of the riparian area, which was a good thing for wildlife.
How much traffic will they have on this trail?
What's that?
How much traffic will they have on this trail? Shoot, how wide does that be?
Yeah,
seems plenty wide to me.
Yeah, you know, it you know, will probably, there'll be probably a few times when it's inconvenient for somebody. I mean, if there's some people, you know, riding a horse and somebody else riding a bicycle or walking, you know, that there might be a slight bit of congestion, but I think nothing that
can we put up,
be worked
who
out.
would have jurisdiction to put up signs that say caution, beavers, people?
There's signs going through
to
this whole area.
get people to slow down.
No parking, and, you know, there's a whole sign code that we have to go through with Larimer County.
But we can do that, right?
But with, you know, what I had suggested with this guardrail and so forth, and the landowner around the bend putting up the no trespassing signs, they might not be, you know, necessary, but what I envisioned down there, that's where they had the most impact. But, you know, this might be a good area as well. They have some educational signs about beavers, and I don't know who would be the best person. They'd be out of I would think county right away, wouldn't it?
Right, and the Trails Committee, we haven't done any interpretive signage yet. We were going to wait and see after the rail gets up and the other signage goes in.
I think that would be another win-win if we could get people to slow down for a reason.
And it might advertise that they're beaver here. They might stop.
Well, yeah.
Well, that should just
I think a lot of people already know that.
Well, there's no parking. That's the biggest.
No, I mean just speeding coming through here. You know, they fly through here. No matter what's here, now they're going to have people and horses, and that's reason enough to have the county post a certain speed limit here. And if you go over, county police can arrest them. You know, get a ticket.
Well, and in terms of people harassing the wildlife, Division of Wildlife, you have the authority to find people, right?
Yes. It's 110 $39.50 if a human harasses wildlife. It's $276.50 if your dog harasses wildlife. Don't ask me about that. I guess.
Do you have a lot of fines to people in the area?
Not that many people I have. And normally with a dog, unless it's an aggravated situation where there's an animal injured or I've got to euthanize it, I don't write a ticket right away. I write a warning ticket knowing dogs will be dogs. But if it continues, I write a real ticket the second time. We have a real problem with dogs harassing wildlife, not so much for people harassing wildlife. And then on your property, or your agent can chase wildlife off your property if you don't want the wildlife there, basically. So, you know, I get a lot of calls, people are upset when they see a neighbor chase an elk off, you know, his property, but that's totally legal. He can't go down the block and chase him further away. I've had to explain that to some people, and they say, well, it doesn't do any good just to chase him off my property. I got to get him out of the neighborhood. So I try to get people to coexist with wildlife. I mean, to me, you know, that's part of living in Estes Park, you know, is the wildlife, you know, we get to share the valley with, but not everybody looks at it that way, as you know.
As I know, with the people feeding the bears this summer, feeding the birds, and then chumming the bears in, and then I understand the bears don't get a second chance anymore. They're just slaughtered. Is that?
Well, that.
Can you? I mean, what? How do you get people to stop doing that? Because you.
I have. Normally, I write a warning ticket. In fact, our policy is at least a verbal warning, and a written warning, and a real ticket. Usually, how I put it to people is I give them their choice. I'd like to handle this with a warning if you agree to, you know, mitigate what you're doing. It's legal to feed, by state law, all wildlife except what's classified as big game, which includes deer and bear. If you're feeding birds and you're just throwing the feed on the ground, that's illegal if a bear comes in or a deer comes in to eat bird seed. So they have to do something, locate the bird feeder out of the way. We suggest, especially with seed feeders,